If you are still losing sleep over a snide comment from a mediocre colleague or an insult from a stranger online, you have already lost. You are a prisoner, not to their words, but to your own desperate, clawing, and primitive need to be understood. Most people spend their entire lives handing the keys to their peace of mind to anyone who happens to throw a stone at them. They react, they explain, they beg for validation from people they don't even respect, and in doing so they become small. They become manageable. They become puppets in a theater where every passerby gets to pull the strings. Niccolo Machiavelli understood a fundamental truth that modern society tries to bury under layers of toxic positivity and open communication. The moment you show your hand, you lose your leverage. True power is not the loudest voice in the room. It is the ability to keep your internal world entirely impenetrable, a black box that neither friend nor foe can decipher. You have been lied to by a system that wants you docile, predictable, and easily triggered. You were taught that standing up for yourself means shouting back, that defending your honor requires a public display of outrage. You were taught that explaining your side of the story makes you right. In reality, explaining is a plea for mercy. It is the act of a subordinate seeking approval from a superior. A king does not explain his decree to the peasantry. A wolf does not hold a press conference to justify his hunt to the sheep. Every time you fire back at someone beneath your level, you are making a fatal investment of your most valuable capital, your attention. Your attention is the only currency that truly matters in this world, yet you throw it away like trash. You invest your energy in drama that yields zero profit. You trade your focus, the engine of empires, for a momentary hit of being right. But while you are busy being right, the elite are busy being powerful. The reframing you need to survive this jungle is simple but brutal. Being ignored is not a sign of your weakness, it is your ultimate stealth. While the crowd is busy making noise, performing for one another, and revealing their vulnerabilities through their constant need for sharing, you remain invisible. The truly dangerous man is not the one who reacts the fastest, but the one who remains unmoved when everyone else has exhausted themselves in pointless friction. You must treat your attention like a venture capitalist treats money. Before you respond, before you let the heat rise in your chest and the cortisol flood your veins, ask one question: does this person deserve me? Not am I right? Not should I be polite? But simply, does this person have enough value to occupy space in my mind? If the answer is no, move on. No guilt, no second guessing, no explanation. Understand the psychological vertigo that silence creates. The human brain is hardwired for feedback loops. When someone attacks you, they expect a reaction to close the emotional loop. They are hungry for your energy. When you give them nothing, the loop stays open. They begin to spiral. They wonder why their words didn't land. They wonder if you think so little of them that they aren't even worth a single breath of your air. That uncertainty is a psychological torture far more devastating than any insult you could ever craft. By saying nothing, you become unreadable. And the unreadable are impossible to manipulate. You are not lonely, you are kitting yourself out in armor. You are not quiet, you are gathering intelligence. While they talk, you map out their insecurities. While they seek applause, you build your fortress in the shadows. Your stillness is not passivity, it is the coiled tension of a predator waiting for the right moment. The masses are addicted to the hit of a reaction. When you deny them that, you seize total control of the dynamic. You are no longer playing their game. You have invited them into yours, a game where the rules are yours, the pace is yours, and the victory is already decided because you refuse to step onto their level. Scarcity is the engine of all value. Have you ever wondered why the world ignores the air they breathe but kills for the diamonds buried in the dirt? Air is abundant. It is cheap. It is always there. Most of you are living your lives like oxygen, essential perhaps, but taken for granted because you are always available. You respond to every text within 30 seconds. You rearrange your entire schedule for a friend who wouldn't walk across the street for you. You are perpetually available, and in the marketplace of human interaction, availability signals disposability. If you are always accessible, you have no leverage. People do not value what costs them nothing. They do not respect the person who is always on standby. To the masses, your kindness is not a virtue. It is a service they've come to expect for free. This is where you must apply the Machiavellian blade. You must become scarce. You must make your presence a reward and your absence a penalty. When you pull back, when you stop being the reliable one who absorbs everyone else's chaos, the power dynamic shifts. People begin to wonder. They begin to work for your attention. They begin to value the moments they have with you because they realize those moments are earned, not guaranteed. But scarcity is only half the battle. You must also master the art of the clean cut. Machiavelli understood that a half-hearted blow only invites revenge. If you must remove someone from your life, do it so severely that you need not fear their retaliation. In your life, this translates to the surgical removal of those who drain your energy. Look at the people around you with cold, unblinking eyes. First, consider the adversaries, the ones who smile to your face while sowing salt in your fields behind your back. Your instinct is to expose them, to yell, to demand justice. Don't. Engagement is a gift you are giving them. Silence is a sentence you are passing on them. Erase them. Stop acknowledging their existence. Your success is the only response they deserve, and it is a response that will haunt them more than any argument ever could. Second, identify the chronic critics. These are the benchwarmers of life who have never built a thing. They sit in the safety of the stands and throw stones at those who are actually in the arena. Why would you listen to the navigation advice of someone who has never left the harbor? They are the background noise of progress. Every moment you spend defending your vision to a critic is a moment you've stolen from the building of your empire. Third, and most dangerous, are the energy drains, the emotional parasites who look like friends but are always in a crisis. They aren't looking for solutions, they are addicted to the attention their problems bring them. You think you are being a good person by helping. You aren't. You are being a fuel source. Protecting your energy is not a selfish act, it is a survival requirement. You cannot lead, you cannot build, and you cannot win if your tank is empty because you let a parasite drink it dry. Cut them cleanly. No dramatic speeches. No we need to talk sessions. Just a quiet, permanent redirection of your resources. This isn't cruelty, it is emotional hygiene. You are clearing the weeds to make room for the titans. The masses will call you cold. They will call you different. Let them. They say different because they can no longer find a way to use you. The person you are becoming, the untouchable version of yourself, requires a mind that nothing can penetrate. This is what we call emotional sovereignty. Most people are emotionally reactive. They are like puppets whose strings are pulled by every headline, every insult, and every change in the weather. If someone can make you angry, they own you. If someone can make you insecure, they are your master. Emotional sovereignty doesn't mean you stop feeling, it means you stop being governed by your feelings. It means there is a gap between the stimulus and your response. In that gap lies your power. When someone tries to bait you, you don't feel the need to bite. You observe the bait. You analyze the person throwing it. You see their desperation, and you choose to remain unmoved. You are the governor of your own internal state. To achieve this, you must identify your cracks, the specific triggers that make you lose your cool. Is it your competence? Your looks? Your past? Know these cracks intimately because the world will eventually find them and press on them. When you know your own weaknesses, no one can use them against you. You become a fortress, and from within that fortress you can finally begin to win without moving. Our modern, hustle-obsessed culture has brainwashed you into believing that power is synonymous with constant action. You are told that if you aren't producing, performing, yelling, or defending, you are falling behind. This is a trap designed for the worker bees, not the architects of power. Frantic activity is almost always a sign of weakness. It is the smell of desperation. Machiavelli observed that the most successful princes were those who knew when to let a situation resolve itself. Strategic inaction is the discipline of refusing to burn your spirit on battles that yield no territory. Most of the provocations you face in life are distractions. They are decoys meant to pull you off your path. When someone spreads a rumor about you, the reactive man rushes into damage control. He explains, he begs, he tries to manage the narrative. In doing so, he feeds the fire. He confirms that the rumor has the power to disturb him. The strategic man does nothing. He continues to show up with absolute integrity. He keeps producing results that speak louder than any fabrication. He understands that truth has a different frequency than lies. Eventually, the lies exhaust themselves. By doing nothing, he has saved his energy, maintained his dignity, and forced his enemies to look like fools fighting a ghost. There is a profound, terrifying power in a man who cannot be baited into a fight. When you refuse to race someone, you have already won because you've made their entire competition irrelevant. The ultimate psychological twist is that the people who hurt you, betrayed you, or ignored you were merely the tools of your own evolution. They were the friction required to harden your soul. If you still feel anger toward those who wronged you, they still own a piece of you. Anger is an attachment. Hate is an investment. True power is not hate, it is indifference. Indifference is the ultimate answer to a manipulator. It signals that they don't even register as a threat. You haven't just ignored their words, you have erased their existence from your emotional reality. This is the Sigma clarity. You are not lonely, you are self-contained. You aren't cold, you are concentrated. The masses live in a perpetual state of emotional slavery, waiting for the world to tell them how to feel. You, however, have built a mind that functions like an air-gapped computer, unconnected to the chaotic network of social validation. This is emotional sovereignty. When you achieve this, you become genuinely untouchable. People will try their old tactics, the gaslighting, the shaming, the backhanded compliments, and they will find that their tools are useless against you. When a manipulator realizes their tools don't work, they don't just stop, they become afraid. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their own insignificance back at them. Power is directly proportional to your ability to endure solitude. The crowd fears the dark because in the shadows there is no one to perform for. But for the Machiavellian mind, the darkness is where the blueprints of dominance are drawn. Consider the law of strategic disappearance. Most people make the amateur mistake of thinking they must constantly be present, constantly posting, and constantly refreshing their image in the eyes of others to avoid being forgotten. They fail to understand that overexposure breeds contempt, while calculated absence creates legend. When you disappear, not out of sadness, but because you are hyper-focused on a monumental goal, you are launching a psychological strike against everyone watching you. They begin to wonder, what are you doing? Where are you? How powerful are you becoming? That curiosity is your leverage. Never grant them the satisfaction of knowing your next move. Let them confront the terrifying silence of the void you left behind. Next, you must master the art of lucid ruthlessness. Many confuse ruthlessness with malice. Malice is harming out of anger. It is an emotional leak. Lucid ruthlessness is the ability to take necessary actions without letting emotion interfere. Machiavelli noted that being ruthless in the present is often the most merciful act for your future self. This means having the surgical precision to cut off a 10-year relationship in a heartbeat if you realize they are an anchor to your growth. This ruthlessness isn't aimed at others without cause. It is aimed at anything that threatens your sovereignty. You are not a villain. You are a surgeon removing a tumor from your life. And a surgeon does not weep while holding the scalpel. To reach the zenith of power, you must master the law of perceptual inversion. When someone treats you poorly, the instinctive reaction is to feel wounded. Invert it immediately. View that person as a laboratory specimen. Analyze what internal fear is driving them to attack you. Are they jealous of your composure? Do they feel small in the face of your discipline? When you view an enemy through the lens of a dark psychologist, your anger vanishes and is replaced by a cold, clinical contempt. You no longer see yourself as a victim. You see yourself as a superior observer watching a lower life form struggle against its own mediocre destiny. This inversion makes you impenetrable. You cannot be hurt by someone you deem cognitively inferior. In social dynamics, information is currency. He who provides the most information is the poorest man in the room. Train yourself to ask more than you answer. Let others brag about themselves, their plans, and their secrets. Humans have an agonizing urge to be understood. They will voluntarily hand you every vulnerability if you simply listen and nod. While they feel connected to you, you are actually building a dossier on them. You know what makes them afraid, what makes them greedy, and what can be used to neutralize them if necessary. In return, you give them nothing. You keep your life a blank page in their eyes. This information asymmetry is the foundation of dominance. You know them, but they don't know you. That is how the fox walks among the hens without ever being detected. True freedom is the ability to stand alone against the world without needing a single soul to agree with you. Most people are addicts of validation. They live for the nods, the likes, and the acceptance of the herd. They are prisoners in a cell without bars, where the guards are the opinions of others. A true Sigma, a modern Machiavellian, broke those chains long ago. You don't need anyone to understand you because you realize that the vast majority of people lack the cognitive capacity to understand anything beyond their own limited horizons. Why would you want to be understood by someone living a mediocre life? Why do you need approval from people who cannot even control their own impulses? Your silence is your declaration of absolute autonomy. When you don't explain, you are telling the world, my value is not dependent on your perception. This is a type of power that terrifies the masses. They will try to label you arrogant, cold, or eccentric. Wear those labels as medals of victory. If the mediocre crowd loves you, it means you are as mediocre as they are. If they feel uneasy and disturbed in your presence, it means you carry a light they cannot endure. Internal power is when you can sit in a room full of people insulting you and your heart rate does not change. You don't need to react to protect your ego because that ego died long ago to make room for an iron will. You look at insults as you look at dust falling on your sleeve, a simple flick and they are gone. You don't fight the inferior not because you are kind, but because you refuse to dull your blade on vermin. This transformation will not come from loud promises or public declarations of change. It comes from the quiet mornings you wake up and choose to ignore a meaningless message from someone seeking a reaction. It comes from the times you watch an opponent try to provoke you and you offer them nothing but a cold, steady stare. It comes from the ruthlessness you apply to your own trivial desires and the discipline you use to master your own time. The world is a jungle and the moral rules they taught you in school are merely traps designed to keep you as a docile, grazing animal. By listening to these truths, you are choosing the path of the predator. Do not look back. Do not let pity or self-doubt halt your march towards sovereignty. I am here to remind you of the brutal potential lying dormant in your blood, a potential buried by years of societal brainwashing and toxic positivity. Take the first action of a sovereign, step away from the noise and begin your silent reign. Tell no one what you have learned. Let them feel the change through the coldness in your eyes, the certainty in your stride, and the total disappearance of your reactions. The world is waiting to be conquered by those who know how to shut their mouths and act. Let others talk about fairness, you focus on power. Let them talk about love, you focus on self-mastery. Become invisible until you are indispensable. Become silent until your absence becomes a catastrophe for others. There is a terrifying beauty in a mind that has decided it no longer needs the world's permission to exist. When you stop explaining, you stop apologizing for your existence. You stop being a guest in your own life and you become the landlord. Most people will never understand this. They will continue to bleed out their energy, one argument at a time, until they are old and hollow. But you have stepped off that wheel. You have realized that the only person who needs to understand your vision is you. The only person who needs to approve of your methods is you. Every time you choose silence over noise, you are strengthening a muscle that most people have let atrophy. You are becoming a person of weight, a person of substance, a person who cannot be blown away by the winds of opinion. This is the essence of being a ghost. A ghost cannot be touched. A ghost cannot be harmed. A ghost moves through walls that stop others. By removing your emotional attachments to the world's feedback, you become that ghost. You move through social spaces with a quiet authority that demands respect without ever asking for it. People will feel the weight of your presence precisely because you are not trying to impress them. They will fear your silence because they cannot fill it with their own noise. This is the game you are playing now. A game where your peace is your power and your stillness is your weapon. While they are busy seeking applause, you are building an empire in the shadows of your own discipline. While they are busy proving their worth, you are living it. You don't need a seat at their table because you are the one building the room. The path is narrow and the cost is high. You will lose friends who were only there for the old reactive you. You will face a loneliness that feels like a physical weight in your chest. But on the other side of that loneliness is a version of yourself that is genuinely untouchable. A version that looks at the chaos of the world and smiles because you know that none of it can get inside your fortress. You are the governor of your own soul. You are the architect of your own reality. The game starts now. No reaction, no explanation, only absolute dominance. Be cold, be ghost, be sovereign. From this moment on, your life is a private affair. Your moves are hidden, your goals are secret. Let the world see the results, never the process. Let them see the crown, never the forging. In the end, the only thing that matters is that you stayed true to the silence. You refused to be managed. You refused to be small. You became the storm that doesn't need to thunder to be felt. This is the way of the untouchable. This is the way of the king who needs no throne. Walk this path with absolute conviction. The world will eventually bow, not because you asked it to, but because it has no other choice in the face of such absolute stillness. Stay disciplined, stay silent, stay dangerous. Your empire begins in the space between your thoughts, where no one else is allowed to enter. Protect that space with your life. It is the only thing you truly own. Think of the great monuments of the world, the pyramids, the mountains, the ancient statues. They do not move. They do not explain why they exist. They simply are. They endure the rain, the wind, and the graffiti of the small-minded, yet they remain. Be that monument. Be the landmark by which others navigate, even if they hate you for your permanence. Your consistency is your greatest weapon. When people realize that they cannot change your mood, cannot alter your path, and cannot get a rise out of you, they stop trying. They move on to easier targets. They leave you to your work, and that work is the only thing that will survive you. Do not waste another second on someone else's script. Write your own, in the ink of your own discipline, and let the world read it only when it is finished. You are the master of the no. No, I will not participate in this drama. No, I will not justify my choices. No, I will not lower my standards to make you feel comfortable. This no is the foundation of your power. It is the wall that protects your kingdom. Build it high, build it thick, and never ever let anyone scale it. You are the only one who belongs inside. Everyone else is just a visitor, and visitors must follow the rules of the house. If they don't, they are shown the door. No speech, no argument, just the door. That is the sovereign way. That is the only way to win in a world that wants to see you lose. Remember, the predator doesn't roar before it strikes. The roar is for the weak, for those who need to scare others because they are scared themselves. The truly powerful move in a silence so deep it feels like a physical force. They don't need to tell you they are powerful. You feel it the moment they walk into a room. You feel it in the way they don't rush to speak. You feel it in the way they look through you, not at you. This is the level you are aiming for. A level of existence where your very being is a statement, where you no longer need to do anything to be respected, because you are the respect. This is the climax of your transformation, the realization that you are the center of your own universe and everything else is just satellites orbiting your will. Let them orbit, let them crash, let them burn out in the atmosphere. You remain constant, unmoving, sovereign. The transmission is over. The work begins. Go now and build the silence that will define your life. Be the architect of your own untouchable soul. The world is watching, even if you are not watching it. Give them something to be afraid of. Give them a version of you they can never, ever control. Be cold. Be ghost. Be sovereign. The silence is yours. Use it to build a world that they can never enter. Use it to protect the flame of your ambition. Use it to become the god of your own destiny. The time for talking is done. The time for being understood is over. Now there is only the work, the silence, and the victory that follows.